Just to let you know, if you are tuning into this video expecting to see some dueling banjos, it's not that kind of video. Hello everybody, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UK Gen Zoidberg. It's not uncommon for two games by two different publishers to share the same name. If I was to tell you that I was going to be loading up Barbarian, you'd probably have to pause for a moment before asking me whether or not I'm playing Palace Software's game or Psygnosis's. And that's just one example. The subject of today's video is a game that shares its name with another from the same publisher that came out on 8-bit systems. There is some online chatter that claim that they are both two interpretations of the same idea, but it's actually a little more complicated than that. That game is Deliverance, which comes from developer Devinart and published by 21st Century Entertainment in 1992. As somebody who grew up playing games on a Spectrum, I was often curious about playing games that I already knew on newer hardware. Seeing how developers would improve or change their games on a more powerful system often yielded some interesting results. Some of them would simply improve the graphics, whereas others would try and harness the extra power to the game's advantage. Hewson Consultants were one of the most popular publishers on the 8-bit systems, and they made many of my favourite games. Whilst Amiga versions of the likes of Nebulous and Eliminator were worthy upgrades, titles such as Cybernoid and Exelon were not. Then there was Stormlord. Originally created by Rafael Checo for the Spectrum in 1989, it was converted to 16-bit home computers by Keith McMurtry, with graphics provided by Mark K. Jones, who has a long CV full of Amiga games, including Dragonstone and Darkmere for core design. It was a fairly successful conversion, so when Checo went on to make the sequel, everyone sat back and waited for the Amiga version to arrive. Deliverance Stormlord 2 on the Spectrum, Commodore 64 and Amstrad expanded on the original with more intense action and some more interesting puzzles. For the 16-bit conversion, they approached programmer Peter Verswijvelen, a young demo coder who had just recently produced Zarathustra, also for Hewson. Growing up in Belgium in the 1980s, he started programming at the age of just 13, using BASIC on a Commodore 64. But it wouldn't be long before he realised that he would need to learn assembly language in order to produce anything decent. According to an interview with Lemon Amiga, he joined forces with 3 other members of a local computer club, and together they set about making technical demos and trainers for games. After being blown away by the Amiga, he took his time to master it. He continued to make demos whilst also producing tools that would make game development easier, such as animation designers and level editors. He always held a desire to make games, and that stemmed from his love of arcade games such as Konami's Gradius series. Little surprise then that there's a very heavy Gradius influence to his first release, Xirius, which was published by the software company in 1990. This side-scrolling shooter was highly praised at the time for its technical mastery, but also criticised for its difficulty. Although, as Verswijvelen also pointed out, it's no more difficult than the arcade games that inspired it. Alongside artist Erlen Robey, they called themselves the Whiz Kids, and for their next game they would produce Zarathustra, which caught the attention of Hewson. And it would actually end up being the last game published under that name before the company closed down and was then renamed 21st Century Entertainment in 1991. This is how they ended up being asked to make Deliverance, although Verswijvelen was actually wanting to quit games development at the time due to the commercial failure of both Xiriax and Zarathustra. In the end, he agreed, as it meant that his artist friend Kim Goossens could also get a job. Goossens, however, had very little interest in reproducing somebody else's work, and set about using the opportunity to show what he could do. Fortunately, when the publisher saw his insane graphics, they were suitably impressed and allowed him to continue what he was doing. The final game ended up taking much longer than the original 6 months that they had been contracted to. Deliverance ended up bearing little resemblance to the game that it was meant to adapt, so the Stormlord 2 part of the name ended up being dropped, allowing the game to stand on its own. Although you will find that most of the magazines at the time still referred to it as Stormlord 2 in their previews and reviews. For many years, Deliverance would remain the final game on Verswijvelen's CV. That was until the arcade-style shooter Cyanide released in 2006. Published by Evolve Games, it had the distinction of being the final exclusive title released for the original Xbox, although it was actually only published in North America. It was once again praised for technical excellence, with some of the reviews stating that it was a great alternative to Geometry Wars. As of 2018, when the Lemon Amiga interview was published, Worswijvelen has been teaching game development academies, as well as leading a team creating real-time 3D animation. He also created a website called VKid that teaches the basics of computer programming to younger children, and it was funded by the Flemish government. Now though, it's time to go back and see what the magazines had to say about Deliverance. Let's take a look at the reviews. Every single review that I found of Deliverance mentions how incredible it looks. Amiga Action called the game's visuals astonishing, Amiga Computing said that the graphics were exquisite, and even Amiga Power said that they were really rather special, and definitely some of the best ever seen on the Amiga. There's more to a game than how it looks though. The first reviews to appear were in the May 1992 issues of both CU Amiga and The One. It was a very busy month for games releases, and it actually found itself being relegated towards the back, in favour of games such as Fire and Ice, Eye of the Beholder 2 and Apidia. CU Amiga gave a score of 85%, saying that the gameplay didn't offer anything new, whereas The One gave a score of 81% and said that the game was simply too short at just 4 levels. The highest score of 92% came from Amiga Computing in June 1992, and they said that the game would have probably scored higher if it hadn't arrived in the same month as System 3's Myth. For the lowest score, you would have to look in Zero magazine, where reviewer Jane Goldman said that the game was nothing to write home about and gave it just 72%. From the 8 reviews that I found in UK magazines, there was actually a 20% swing between the best and worst score. It still managed to come out with a pretty reasonable 82.9% on average though. On Lemon Amiga, it currently has a user score of 6.82 from 85 votes, with 28% of those votes being a score of 7 out of 10. Now though, it's time for me to play the game for myself and see what I think of it. It's time for the playtest. So here we go. I honestly could have sworn from memory that the graphics were actually bigger than this. Doesn't make them any less impressive though. The controls are pretty simple, standard platforming controls for the movement of the character. Pressing fire will throw the axes. You hold down the fire button, it'll continue to throw them, but if you then push up, you can swing the axe in a more defensive motion. And that proves to be very useful for attacking flying enemies. There's a spider in that one. These visuals really are exceptional though. The animation of the main character is nice and smooth. Everything is very detailed. Picking up coins is actually a way to regain health. Oh, spider in it. And those cupboards look exactly the same as this one. And that one's got a key in it that I can pick up. So that's obviously the key that I'm going to need to get through a door. So as you can see, the little image of my character at the bottom of the screen does actually deteriorate more depending on how much damage I've taken. There's not a huge amount of variety to the enemies. It's just the same group over and over again. Oh, I ducked because of the bats then, not because of the traps. Ah! I got attacked by something on the ground there. So those fairies are what you collect in order to complete the game fully. Ah, spider! Ah, I got attacked by a sack again. Oh, key in that one, that's good. I see. there is actually a broken brick there at the bottom that's just about visible, and that's where that creature is that's in the floor that's going to kill you. What the designers have put into this game is the ability to drop tokens, so that you can actually, so that if you then come back to this section of the level later, you'll know that you've been here before because there's a token on the floor, and you do this by pressing F1. There's a lot of fairies here. And despite how good the game looks, the sound isn't very spectacular, is it? The amount of blood and violence and little things like that guy being stretched on the rack right behind there, and even a little bit of nudity, have led to this game having an adult filter applied to it if you search for it on the Lemon Amiga website. Although it must be said that it is a bit tame by today's standards. Those footsteps are a little hypnotic, could possibly put you to sleep if you're not careful. I don't like how you can fall down like that and the game doesn't, and the game doesn't catch up with your movement. So that should mean that if I drop down here, there should be that marker that I dropped before. Yes, there it is. Considering how long this level is, I mean, I've been playing for 15 minutes and there's no sign of reaching the end. It would be nice to have a few different enemies from time to time. Just the occasional one would even make a massive difference. I mean, surely they could have just put some, like a little bit of extra gold onto those cupboards just to differentiate them from the others. Oh, here we go. End of level boss. What have we got here then? Oh, it's a dragon. Oh, that fire is impressive. I like that. I seem to have got here without losing a life. Although that fire did seem to just take a lot of health off me, although it's not really any way of telling. Oh, okay, death. No idea how close to death. Oh, there we go. I was about to say, I have no idea how close to death the actual dragon is, but there we go, I killed him. And here we are on to World 2. And we finally get some new enemy types. Oh, it was like an invisible man just ran past. Okay, I'm trapped in here. That wall just came up behind me. Invisible, more invisible. That's a very nice graphical effect. Although let's be fair here, this is a game chock full of very nice graphical effects. Okay. So another example of how annoying it is that you can fall down and not be seen. I mean, although even though the scenery has changed, there's not a huge amount of difference in the gameplay between this level and the last. I must admit that despite the game's visuals, this is not holding my attention that much. I can't quite put my finger on why. Is it just that the movement is too slow? Is it? Oh my. Is that it? Is this another little boss, is it? If this is an end-level boss, it's not exactly the most thrilling one in the world, is it? Yay! That's not what I was. That's clearly not what I was supposed to be trying to do. And game over. Okay. Right. Okay. That's going to be a good place to end the playtest, then, isn't it? So let's get on to the final summary. So, is Deliverance a sequel to Stormlord or not? Personally, I would say that it is. Just. Despite the game looking and playing differently, all of the lore in the manual does constantly refer to the story and characters of the original. And at the end of the day, the objective is still to rescue fairies in order to save the world. Where I draw the line though is in the comparisons to gods, which are not only unfair, they're inaccurate. It's obvious that the opening level has a clear visual similarity to the Bitmap Brothers game, so it's easy to see where the comparisons came from, but the gameplay is completely different. There's no denying that the game is a bit of a looker, especially on a standard A500. The sprites are big and beautifully animated, and there's some fantastic creature design in there too. It also features possibly the best fire that you're going to see anywhere in an Amiga game. The backgrounds are incredibly detailed, while at the same time being a little bit bland and samey. That's probably why the designers felt the need to include the markers that you can drop. At least each level does look completely different to the last though. It's a shame then that the visuals are let down by virtually everything else. The sound is little more than a few grunts and axe swings, and I really feel that a little bit of music here and there would have really livened things up. Gameplay is the most frustrating element though, mainly because there's so little variety to it. The levels are huge, but you do find yourself being attacked by the same group of enemies over and over again, so eventually I found myself getting a bit bored. It's also annoying how there's no way to tell a booby-trapped cupboard from one that contains a crucial item or a fairy. I would have also liked a little bit more clarity over just how much damage all of the traps and enemies are actually doing to you. Perhaps the biggest annoyance for me is the way that the scrolling moves slower than your character at times. This is especially noticeable whenever you drop down to a lower platform and the screen takes a second or so to catch up. This is perfectly fine when you play the game a few times and start to learn the level, but it's really frustrating when you find yourself under attack by enemies that you can't even see yet. All in all though, Deliverance feels like a missed opportunity to make something truly special. As the UKGN Super League of hack and slash platformers shows, there are many games that I would recommend that you play over this one. It does sit somewhere in the middle though, thanks to the presentation. You'll load it up, gaze in awe at the visuals, and maybe even show it off to your friends, but it's not really a game that you're going to want to play for any prolonged period. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a bronze medal and a score of 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching this episode of the re-review. I always enjoy finding out all about the lesser known Amiga game creators and bringing their stories to you. I hope you enjoy it too. If you played Deliverance back in the day, I would love to know what you thought of it in the comments. If you have enjoyed this episode, please remember to give us a like and maybe subscribe to the channel too, so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Watching these videos early is just one of the perks that you can get by becoming a channel VIP, which costs just £1.99 a month. Please feel free to check out the details of how you can join in the description below. Next Wednesday, I'll be attending this year's Timeless Gaming Convention in Liverpool, and so hopefully I'll bring you a video all about that in place of the usual Friday video next week. Until then though, happy retro gaming everybody. Bye for now.